temperature increases, the amount of snow and ice that traps the water, as that decreases, we have more water in the environment, and it's going to go into the ocean, and the oceans are going to rise.
Sea level rise has begun to threaten coastal communities around the world. In the United States, cities like Miami are already seeing the impact of sea level rise. Our planet is changing rapidly, and our communities are not prepared to handle the changes. We have built our cities on low-lying land as well as filled in land. This combination has led the ocean to overtake sinking land. The land we're standing on now is actually filled in, and when the bay rises up, it will reclaim its territory. The challenges that Miami is facing now foreshadow what may happen here in Marin. Marin County is a maritime community. The proximity to the water makes Marin an attractive place to live. Marin County is surrounded by 3 major bodies of water. The eastern shore borders the San Pablo and San Francisco Bay. The San Francisco Bay also runs around southern Marin, while the western edge of Marin opens up to the Pacific Ocean. Closer to San Rafael is the San Rafael Bay, which is part of the San Pablo Bay. A tributary of the San Rafael Bay, San Rafael Creek runs through the city of San Rafael. The creek's placid water will pose a threat to surrounding businesses and infrastructure when sea levels rise. One of the most vulnerable areas is San Rafael's canal neighborhood. When sea levels rise, the canal's dense population will cause greater levels of devastation. The canal area has been mostly dry since 1982, but very small floods have occurred since then. Juan de la Calle, a longtime resident of the canal area, vividly remembers the flood of 1982.
Sí, fue algo que sí, definitivamente extraordinario. Toda el agua se entró en los apartamentos y se taparon los tragantes, ¿sí? Cuando no hay como qué manera salir, está ahí chavo en la calle, ¿de qué manera vas a salir?
Small amounts of rise in sea level are going to mean that when we have storms coming through, there's no longer that sort of buffer that we used to have, which was that houses were a couple of feet above sea level. As we use that buffer up, we're going to find that as storms roll through, as typhoons and hurricanes roll through, as storm surges roll through, they're going to more directly they're going to more directly impact and be more devastating.
The County of Marin has begun to look at the issue of sea level rise. Jack Leibster from the Marin Planning Commission is directly involved with efforts to address the problem.
A flooded parking lot is a problem, but a flooded electrical substation that wipes out the electricity for an entire neighborhood or city, or a wastewater treatment plant that gets flooded and emits untreated waste throughout the area, that's a bigger problem.
In fact, the Bay Conservation and Development Commission predicts that water in the San Francisco Bay will rise up to 16 inches by 2050 and by 55 inches 50 years after that. Lori Williams from Marin County Flood Control and Lauren Armstrong from Marin County Community Agency discussed proposed solutions to combat sea level rise.
We're working on longer-term solutions to flooding, so not like sandbagging, something you can do in these upcoming storms, but looking at the entire watershed and how the water functions through there, and working with our partners in the watershed to come up with longer-term solutions that we would then seek funding for to implement.
We may ask ourselves why we can't simply just leave an area. Lori Williams shared that it is not possible to leave developed areas even if they are threatened by sea level rise.
It has always been that the areas closest to the oceans are some of the most populated.
Policymakers, like Congressman Jared Huffman, are interested in seeking funding to aid in sea level rise solutions.
Obviously, we're always going to need to do dredging in our marinas and the channels that require navigation. So adaptation is a huge part of it. In a community like ours with all these baylands, some of what we need to do for sea level rise is good for wetlands, because wetland restoration can provide a really wonderful natural buffer. But there's going to be some infrastructure that'll need to be hardened, and elevated. So we're going to need to invest a lot more in our bayside and oceanside communities, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to get funding for.
The most important step to take in regards to sea level rise is access to information and education about the issue. Jack Liebster best describes the next step.
Rising and raging waters don't respect city limit lines or county boundaries, nor are they constrained by departmental organization charts or what special district has which responsibilities. The silos between departments need to become more permeable at all levels, city, county, all around, and the cooperation expanded among different local governments and different agencies with functional responsibilities.
Even though our homes are threatened by rising seas, we are still able to slow down the issue.
We just want people to be prepared in the meantime. It's going to be a slow emergency, so we have time to deal with it.
If we can slow the pace at which we're adding carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, we will not stop climate change, and therefore we will not stop sea level rise, but we can mitigate it by having it occur more slowly, and we can start the turn that would bring us back into a better situation.